This is a question that I got. It's interesting. What's the difference between a tummy tuck and a Brazilian tummy tuck? So this Brazilian tummy tuck thing came out a while ago, and people were talking about it, and it seemed to be sort of all the rage. And so I did a blog post basically saying, what is a Brazilian tummy tuck, and basically saying that it isn't really any different to a normal tummy tuck. And I don't particularly say the tummy tuck that I do is a Brazilian tummy tuck. It's just a tummy tuck, and I just think it's a bit of, I don't think there's anything significantly different about it. I will talk about, there are some differences which I'll talk about, but I don't think they're significant. And so my blog post was basically saying, that it's amazing the amount of inquiries I got afterwards. People saying, I want a Brazilian tummy tuck. Can you do a Brazilian tummy tuck? I'm like, well, hold on a minute. Have you read the blog post? The blog post wasn't saying I do Brazilian tummy tuck. I just do a normal tummy tuck. I don't. And I think I understand it. I think when something comes out like a Brazilian tummy tuck or a vampire facelift or something with a name, like Vaser liposuction, or just something that sounds a bit different, people often think that's got to be better because there's a Brazilian one now. Let's do a Brazilian tummy tuck because that's got to be better than a normal tummy tuck. When you actually look into any of those things, there's often not a huge difference between them and the normal thing. I think there are different types of tummy tuck, no question. There's a mini tummy tuck, a full tuck, a fleur-de-lis, 360. There are different types of tummy tuck. But when it comes to the nuances of how you do a full tummy tuck, we all have nuances of how we do them. There's nothing significant. And I think someone somewhere, I don't know who, someone has coined the phrase Brazilian tummy tuck. But when you actually look at what they're saying they do with a Brazilian tummy tuck, I mean, I don't know if it's just me. A lot of the things I do it already. So what are the differences? So number one difference that they say a Brazilian tummy tuck is different to a full, to a sort of standard tummy tuck, is they say there's limited undermining. So when you do a tummy tuck, you take all of the skin from the belly button down. So the skin from the belly button down is removed, and the skin from the belly button up to the rib cage is then stretched and pulled down. Now, in order to stretch and pull down the skin from the rib cage up, if you just cut that bit of skin out and then try to pull it down, it won't move. So you have to undermine. You have to undermine the skin from the belly button up to the rib cage. Now, what they say is that a Brazilian tummy tuck just has a small tunnel going up to the rib cage, only wide enough to allow you to repair the muscles. Whereas the implication is that a full tummy tuck will undermine all the way along the rib cage. Do you follow? Do you get me? So they're just doing a tunnel here with a mini, whereas a full would be undermining all of this. So this gets removed. Not a mini, sorry. A Brazilian just undermines here, and they're saying a full does everything. Now, I haven't undermined everything for years. You don't undermine everything with a full tummy tuck. You only undermine a tunnel with a full tummy tuck. You don't. The tunnel. I've been undermining a tunnel. It's only a tunnel for a tall tummy. You don't do wide undermining. Wide undermining increases your risk of seroma. It's a bigger dead space. More risk of vascularity problems to the skin flap and wound healing. So that is the same with the tummy tuck that I do. And I think most people just undermine a tunnel. And the tunnel is just wide enough in order to get the give in the skin so it'll pull down. And also, as I say, wide enough so that you can repair the muscles. So you repair the recti muscles as part of either of them. So that's Exhibit A, that they say a Brazilian is different. Exhibit B, they say a Brazilian is different because they don't use drains. And I do use drains. I believe what they're saying. I mean, at the end of the day, really, I guess you should talk to someone who does Brazilian tummy tucks, really, or at least promotes themselves as a Brazilian tummy tuck guy, to who knows about both of them. But anyway, to get a balanced opinion, because I don't propose that I'm particularly a Brazilian tummy tuck guy. I'm just a tummy tuck guy. So they say that because it's limited undermining, then you can avoid using drains. Now, you can avoid using drains in a normal tummy tuck, and many people don't use drains with tummy tucks. And yes, that's true. The less undermining, the less dead space, so the less the need for drains. But as I say, I do limited undermining, and I still use drains. because I believe that it's the skin flaps are going to stick down better and the seroma rate is going to be low. And I know that there are studies that have shown that the seroma rate is low even when you don't use drains, but it's lower when you do use drains. So I don't really have any problems with seroma. It's a very rare problem for me, so I don't really want to change things because it can be a bit of a nuisance when you get seromas. So that's just my personal view on it. And so the reason I use drains is not because of the undermining, it's because I believe that they're a better way to get those skin flaps to stick down. So, and as I say, you could easily not use drains doing a standard tummy tuck with a narrow tunnel. And lastly, and probably the only difference between a Brazilian tummy tuck and a normal tummy tuck is the liposuction. So it's quite normal to do liposuction to the hips and flanks. Let me demonstrate these bits here. Yeah, obviously there's nothing there on me, you know, it's all bone there, but you know, obviously, not obviously. So those are the bits that you can do with a normal tummy tuck. You do liposuction. It's not unusual to combine a tummy tuck with liposuction to those areas there. What they talk about with the Brazilian tummy tuck is doing liposuction to this bit here, the upper abdomen, liposuction to the upper abdomen. So that is different because I don't do liposuction to the upper abdomen, and there's many people who don't do liposuction to the upper abdomen at the time of a tummy tuck because the worry is that it's going to affect the blood supply of that skin flap and it's going to reduce the healing and increase your risk of wound healing problems. So that is our rationale for not doing it. But again, I'm aware that some people do believe that it is okay to do it. Many patients ask for it and think they're going to need liposuction to the upper abdomen, but actually when you do a full tummy tuck, because you're stretching that skin that normally goes from the belly button to your rib cage all the way down, so it has to stretch down and cover your whole abdomen, it's not that common to need liposuction to the upper abdomen because it sort of gets thinned out because it gets pulled down. But sometimes it is, and there may be patients out there who would benefit from it, but I would worry that it would affect the vascularity of the skin flap and the healing. So I don't do it, and if you need it, I would do it as a second stage. So that is a difference between a Brazilian tummy tuck and a standard tummy tuck. A Brazilian tummy tuck, they tend to do more liposuction to the upper flap, to the upper abdomen. As I say, the reason I don't do it is because I worry about vascularity and healing, but obviously the people who do it feel that they can do it in a way that they have, you know, they can be safe and not get problems with the vascularity and the healing. And the problem with plastic surgery is often there's different viewpoints. It's not necessarily one's right or wrong. And if someone's getting good results by doing it, then great. And if someone's getting good results not doing it, then great. You've got to do what you feel comfortable with. But I don't think it's going to have a significant result or a significant difference in the result. And certainly if you look at the results of someone who is saying they're doing Brazilian tummy tucks versus someone who's saying that they're doing just a normal tummy tuck, they don't look noticeably different. And I think if you did a study where you got patients, surgeons, whatever, and you got 10 people and said, look, 5 of them had a Brazilian one, 5 of them had a normal one, which is which, you wouldn't tell it. I've always said, same with the breast implants, people choosing breast implants, getting all wound up about different implants, different makes, manufacturers. It's the surgeon you got to choose. You get good surgeons and bad surgeons, and I don't think the technique, certainly in terms of a Brazilian versus a standard tummy tuck, is going to give you a better or worse result. It's the surgeon that's going to give you a better result. Good surgeon with either technique would be better than a bad surgeon with the other technique. Anyway, you know what I mean. Anyway, the surgeon's more important, basically. So yeah, so the main difference, as far as I can see, is liposuction to the upper skin flap, which is performed in a Brazilian tummy tuck rather than where it isn't performed in a normal tummy tuck. And if you think that sounds good, then maybe you should go for a Brazilian one. But but you know, that's the difference. But there are reasons why we don't do it. You know, there's always a reason. If someone says, I've got the best new technique and no one else does it, and it's really good, and I'm the only person who does it, I mean, you might think, oh, brilliant, I'll have it done with him because he's the only. You got to think, why don't the other guys do it? Now, unless it's because I've got some technique that I can hold a stitch in a special way and I've got a hand which can move like that and no one else's hand can move like that, or some reason that I'm the only person that can do that technique and no one else can, you've got to worry that there's a downside to it. Because if they're telling you it's all upside and no downside, you've got to ask the question, why don't the other guys do it? If there's absolutely no downside to it, there's got to be a downside. Otherwise, everyone would do it. And you just got to be honest and with patients and say, look, there's an upside, there's a downside. The upside is you can thin this flap out a bit. The downside is it might affect the vascularity and affect the healing of the skin. Right? It's like the politicians when they talk about all this, whenever they say about their manifestos and things, they always just talk about upsides, don't they? Oh, I'm going to help the homeless, and I'm going to help businesses, and I'm going to help the NHS, and I'm going to help, exporting goods, and I'm going to help homegrown goods. You can't do everything. You've got to say, look, there's good things about that, but we're going to have to take it from there. So we're going to have to take some money from there because we think it's important to put it to there. But they never want to say they're going to take some money from there. So there's always upsides and downsides for all these things. So just be aware, ask the questions, look for some results, choose your surgeon. If you found you got a good surgeon, I wouldn't worry too much about the Brazilian thing, in my view. Personal disclaimer. So that's where I am on that one.